Last time, we ended off with Vegeta getting willingly controlled by Babidi, and he started the fight with Goku and King Cold, which caused Majin Buu to be released from the sealed ball. Though, Goku and Cold try to stop the battle as they notice Buu is released, but Vegeta won't let them, even though he's being easily beaten down by the two. Back at where Buu is, Deborah starts to insult him by calling him a fat and stupid loser, which causes Buu to attack him. Then back with Vegeta and the others, Goku and Cold try to stop the fight yet again, but since he is still refusing, Goku and Cold knock him out in a joint attack. Both then eat a senzu bean and take off towards the battlefield. While they start to head towards it, Babidi orders Buu to kill Gohan and Shin. Though, Gohan is blasted away and seemingly killed, but Shin manages to save him. However, before Buu can kill Shin, it is revealed Deborah is alive as he throws a spear through Buu's stomach. Buu then turns Deborah into a cookie and eats him, causing Krillin, Piccolo, and Banyu to be turned back to normal. At this point is when Goku and King Cold arrive, with him easily beating down Buu at first. When they are fighting them, King Cold notices something within Buu, which, what he notices reminds him about when he knows the androids within Cell all those years ago, and he figures it must be the Supreme Kais that Shin said Buu absorbed. So, King Cold uses the Force Spirit Fission on Majin Buu, which separates the South Supreme Kai and Grand Supreme Kai from Buu, which, this causes Buu to start to scream as he begins to go through transformation, with him thrashing as he does. Though, in this transformation, he gets shorter and scrawnier, though also becomes muscular as he reverts to Kid Buu. After he finishes transforming, he would start the fight with Cold and Goku. One-on-one, they wouldn't be able to do much to Kid Buu because of his reckless fighting style. When the two team up, however, Kid Buu doesn't get a chance to throw hits at the two. He would be getting pummeled by the combined attacks of Cold and his 6th form in Super Saiyan 3 Goku. While they are fighting, Babidi would still be alive, but since Piccolo is awake again, he would come in and slice Babidi in half. He, along with Banyu and Krillin, then fly off towards the fight with Kid Buu, leaving Babidi there to die. Once they arrive, they would join in on teaming up on Buu, since they would know they can't let this monster live. So, I think they would fire a combined blast, with King Cold using the Death Ball, Goku using the Super Kamehameha, Piccolo using the Special Beam Cannon, Banyu using the Blast Cannon, and Krillin using the Kamehameha too. When Trunks and Goten arrive, they would even join in, with Trunks using the Double Buster and Goten using the Kamehameha. Even Gohan might get back up and use his Kamehameha too. Lastly, Vegeta would have eventually woken up during this beam struggle, which, when he flies to the battlefield, he would put aside his pride for a moment and transform into a Super Saiyan 3, and then use his final flash. So, this combined blast from all the heroes should be more than enough to take down Kid Buu, so when it hits them, even though he tries to resist, he is obliterated. This means that the Buu saga ends far earlier than usual, with them falling out of their current forms, as Goku and Vegeta go back to their base, and Cold goes back to his 4th form. While they are resting, the South Supreme Kai and Grand Supreme Kai would come up and thank King Cold for separating them from Buu. Shin would end up having a heartfelt reunion with them all saying it's sad that they lost those West Supreme Kai and North Supreme Kai, though this gives King Cold an idea, and he passes this on to Goku. So, they would go and get the Dragon Radar from Bulma, and then they would gather the Dragon Balls. With their first wish, they would wish for everyone who wasn't evil that was killed by Vegeta to be revived. Since reviving a large group of people takes up 2 of the wishes on the Earth Dragon Balls, and they didn't have a 3rd wish Shenron could do, they'd dismiss him. From there, Cold would take the Dragon Radar with him as he and Banyu teleport to New Namek. After gathering the Namekian Dragon Balls, since there's no time limit for reviving people on them, they revive the West Supreme Kai and the North Supreme Kai. Then, before they teleport back to Earth, King Cold would explain everything that happened with Buu and why they revived them, since the other Supreme Kai were separated from Buu. So, they would then teleport them back to the Earth, which now that all the Supreme Kais are back together, it is like a heartfelt reunion. It's also potentially possible, as thanks to King Cold for bringing them back and separating them from Buu, that they could offer to train him, which, he might take them up on that offer, but he said it wouldn't happen right away, as he was curious about meeting the regular Kai and Grand Kai first. The Grand Supreme Kai tells him that he understands and at least takes him to the sacred world of the Kai briefly, so that King Cold could find his way there later. So, once everyone is back on Earth, and since everyone that was killed was revived, they would celebrate the defeat of Majin Buu. From there, they would then all return home, with Cold stopping Goku to talk to him first. When Goku had told Cold about his adventures before, he would have mentioned training with King Kai, so Cold would ask Goku to introduce him to the North Kai. The main reason Cold would ask Goku is because he doesn't know where his planet is, and he wants to be formally introduced, so he can go about it in a cordial manner. So, Goku agrees and teleports him and Banyu up to King Kai's planet. After the cordial introduction, King Cold would get to the point with him asking if he can be trained by the Kai. This likely wouldn't help him much power-wise, but he could still learn new techniques from him. I think with some convincing from Goku, and Cold adding in that the Grand Supreme Kai said he should do this, King Kai would agree. As Goku leaves, Cold and Bonnie would still have to go through King Kai's test of making him laugh. It might take a little while, but they would eventually get him to do so. As for his training, the part with Bubbles and Gregory would be kinda pointless since they could easily pass those trials. So, King Kai would jump into teaching them the techniques of Kaioken and the Spirit Bomb. It took Goku 6 months to do this training, but with them being far stronger, I'm going to cut that time in half, so it only takes Bonnie and Cold 3 months at most. After this training finishes, Cold would still want to train with the other Kai. However, King Kai has a rivalry with them, but Cold would have a proposition to convince King Kai. He would say he has a competition idea in mind to see which Kai is best, that if King Kai can convince the others to train him and a squadron of his men, they could compare the squadrons afterwards to see which is best. So, one squadron would train with King Kai / North Kai, one with the East Kai, one with the West Kai, and one with the South Kai. Even though it means more people to train for King Kai, I think he would agree to this proposition so that he could settle the rivalry, which, when he gets in communication with the other Kai, they would agree as well. So, after Cold brings a squadron of men to train with King Kai, he would teleport Cold and Banyu to the East Kai's planet. We don't know much about her training, but her fighters are known for their exceptional speed, so she would help in training Cold and Banyu to get faster, which, after 3 months of her training, she would bring him and Banyu to the South Kai. As for his training, the South Kai's fighters were trained in a defensive manner, so they would be learning defensive techniques when training under him. Lastly, South Kai brings them to the West Kai's planet to train. We don't know much about his training either, but there's more known about it than the East and South Kai's trainings. In his training, he teaches the Thunder Flash attack and the flawless stance to go with it, so that they can use as little ki as possible to use the Thunder Flash attack. Of course, while Cold was on these planets, he would have left a squadron of men behind to train with each of them. After their training is eventually done, they would hold a mini Battle Royale tournament between the 4 squadrons. It's hard to say which squadron would do the best, but I think East Kai's team would be eliminated first. After East, I think the South Kai squadron would be eliminated, leaving the North Kai / King Kai's team and the West Kai's team. These were the main 2 rivals of the Kai, but I think King Kai's team would come out on top. The Grand Kai would likely have stopped in to watch this tournament as well, which is when King Cold would see his chance to introduce himself to the Grand Kai. This would still be a cordial matter, with Grand Kai being impressed that he changed over to the side of good, along with him being impressed that he helped settle the rivalry between the Kai. Though it wouldn't be settled completely since they would still strive to outdo each other in the future. Anyway, when Cold asked the Grand Kai if he could train himself and Banyu, I think the Grand Kai would agree. We don't know much about what his training would entail either, but whatever techniques he knows, he might pass on to the 2. However, a major thing I think he could help with is Cold's 6th form. He could help King Cold gain mastery over it, so that it no longer has the stamina drain. By this point, it would be May of age 776, as in total they trained with the North, South, East, and West Kai for 3 months each. This adds up to a year, then with the Grand Kai for a year, so 2 years have passed. Now that his training with the Kai and Grand Kai are done, he would take the offer that the Supreme Kais gave him and teleport himself along with Banyu to the sacred world of the Kai. We don't know a lot about what the Supreme Kais could train them to learn, but by looking at the techniques they know, I have some ideas. For the North Supreme Kai, he mainly fought with a sword, so he could teach some swordsmanship techniques to Cold and Banyu, which, this might end up with Cold trying to wield the Z-Sword, which I believe he could get it out of the ground. However, Shin and the others might still get the idea to test the sword, causing it to break and release the old Kai. The others would still be happy to see the old Kai, with Cold introducing himself. Regardless, he would go back to his training with the North Supreme Kai, but since the Z-Sword broke, they might try to use T-Swords we have seen Vegeta and Zamasu use. Also, the North Supreme Kai could teach them his technique of the God Shock Flash. The West Supreme Kai could teach her technique of the Sacred Light Bullet, and even though she wasn't the strongest Supreme Kai, she was shown to be faster than the other 3, so her training could be about speed too. As for the South Supreme Kai, since he is physically the strongest of the 4, his training could rely on strength, along with him teaching the mighty powerful God Shockwave and the Thunderclap techniques. Then for Shin / East Supreme Kai, we know a little more about his training because of what he taught Gohan and Future Trunks. He taught Future Trunks healing, but he could also teach some of his techniques, such as God's Assault or his telekinesis, which he used to hold Gohan in place. All in all, if they trained with each Supreme Kai for 3 months, it would take a year as well, so it is now May of age 777. Lastly, they would train with the Grand Supreme Kai for a year, with him teaching some of his many techniques. which this would include the Destructive Grenade, the Flame Shower Breath, and the Grand Supreme Divide. Though the major technique he could pass on is the Kai Kai Motaro, which we see in the manga. This is used to seal an opponent's magic power, so it could take a while for the two to learn. Regardless, after the year of his training has passed, it would be May of age 778, which is only 3 months before the Battle of Gods happens. Though, before he and Banyu leave, I think the old Kai would offer to unlock their potential since they aren't busy with training anymore and as thanks for freeing him. This whole time of training, Cold would have had his men check on his empire, and he would have made broadcasts too, so that his empire was kept up on what he was doing. Anyway, after they get their potential unlocked, Cold would discuss an idea he has with the Grand Supreme Kai. He would have learned about how the Supreme Kai are there to help life develop on planets, and he has an idea that he could help both his empire and the Supreme Kai with their job. His idea would have been to, with the help of Council Corp, develop the technology to help terraform planets, which is making them suitable for life. If you've ever seen the game Spore and how planets are terraformed in the space stage, it would be something like that. I think the Grand Supreme Kai would find this an interesting idea, and since Cold and Banyu are essentially apprentices of the Supreme Kai now, he allows them to do this. So, Cold and Banyu would return to the Earth and go to Council Corp, so that they could talk to Bulma about this idea. She would find it interesting to say the least and would try to help to the best of her ability with it, with Dr. Briefs helping as well. However, they would both point out to Cold that they would need a plan to test it on if they do manage to find the technology. So, while Cold scientists and Council Corporation work on developing this technology, Cold and Banyu would start to explore the Empire for potential planets that could be helped by this kind of process. They would have also got the help from the Supreme Kais, the Grand Supreme Kai, and the Galactic Patrol to find a planet they think is suitable, which this search would bring them to choose the planet Vampa to check out first, since it is a hostile world to live on. So, Cold and Banyu plot the course of their ship to head there, so they can decide if it is suitable for their project or not.